But like I said, on today's show, I'm talking to the brothers today, man. I really want to sit with the brothers and chop up game. I'm very proud of Barack Obama. Everybody knows that Barack Obama has won the primaries, and he's the Democratic nominee. This has been a historical moment in the history of America, the first time a black man has reached that point in politics. And there is a very strong possibility that Barack Obama might be the next president. And that's not only a good look for the country, it's a very good look for black men. A very good look for black men, because brothers in the media and just in general, we're always portrayed in a fucked up way. And unfortunately, a lot of black men start internalizing the messed up portrayal that we receive. When people keep telling you every day, you're this, you're a criminal, you're violent, you're inherently fucked up, subconsciously you start to internalize that. And you start to live up to the accusations and the portrayals. Follow me. So that's why I'm very proud of Barack Obama for his achievements, because this is showing young black men that you can do fly shit, that you are fly, in spite of all the bullshit that they say about us, in spite of all the demonizations that's been going on to black men throughout the history of this country. See, I get a lot of emails from brothers, and with black men, we think with our egos a lot, because that's really all we have. What we have to fall back on are our personal qualities. So black men a lot of times wear their egos on their sleeves. So you never want to show any kind of weakness. It's all bravado. Everybody's on some tough guy shit. Everybody's putting up a good front. But it's hard for brothers to sit down and just chop up game and talk about certain things and get your feelings out. Well, we're going to do that today. I want to talk about a bunch of shit that's going on in your minds that we need to talk about, and just let you know what the real deal is about who you are. I get a lot of emails privately, man. A lot of brothers send me emails, and brothers pour their hearts out to me, which is cool. I have the kind of personality that makes brothers feel comfortable talking to me about shit. And brothers, you know, I feel your pain. A lot of brothers send me emails saying like, man, Flex, I'm trying to get a job, man. I'm going to school. This shit is hard out here, man. This shit is fucking hard for a black man. I get emails, brothers like, man, I keep going back and forth to the pen. I get letters from dudes in prison. My books do very well in prison and on college campuses. Go figure. And you know, I talk to brothers who are like damn near on the verge of suicide. A lot of brothers be like, damn, man, I feel like ended it all. You know, life is just fucked up. And I don't want any brother to feel that way. If you're a black man and you're still here in 2008, that's a testament to your greatness. If you are a black man and you are still here in 2008, that's a testament to your greatness. If you can hold your head up in 2008, because the odds have been stacked against the black man for centuries now. And most people couldn't withstand that. Other races of people, they couldn't have withstood the stuff that the black man has withstood. They would have died off a long time ago. Trust. But we always hear stuff about how black men are inherently violent. They always talk about the crime rate. They were talking about the crime rate in Jamaica. I was on my way to Jamaica. I still might go, probably. I've been saying that for the last few weeks, but I've been taking care of a lot of shit out here with these TV shows and shit. But I was doing some research about Jamaica, and they were talking about there's a lot of murders in Jamaica. You know, white folks love to run with that shit. The violence in Jamaica, Jamaica this, and the violence here, and the brothers, you are not inherently violent. Let me say that. Whenever you see brothers on TV, you always see some rah-rah shit, niggas getting shot, niggas getting killed. You are not inherently violent. The thing is, black men in many cases have been put in a situation of poverty. Whenever there's poverty, a lot of black men are impoverished. And whenever there is poverty, there's going to be violence. Now, I'm not saying this to justify the dumb shit that goes on in the hood. You guys know me. I hate stupid hood shit. I'm not justifying none of that shit. I'm not one of those black folks that like to make excuses for dumb shit. I'm not. But I don't want black men to think and buy into the propaganda that somehow we are inherently violent, we're animalistic, we can't rise above that bullshit. No, that's not the case. Whenever there's poverty, there's going to be violence. In Jamaica, there's poverty, so there's violence. In many inner city places out here in America, there's a lot of poverty, so there's going to be violence. And that's with any race. Down in Brazil, in Latin America, there's poverty, there's violence. In Mexico, there's poverty, there's violence. In certain Asian countries, there's poverty, there's violence. And when you're in an impoverished situation, when you're starving, when you're broke, the don't give a fuck gene kicks in. Everybody has the don't give a fuck gene. It's human nature. When you're starving, your mind switches into survival mode. You want to survive by any means necessary. And this is especially true with whites too. Whites are not above this. In Europe, when there were poor white folks in Europe, they were whooping each other's asses. Do some history. Read up on some history, people. In Europe, there were like rich white folks, and there were broke white folks. And the broke white folks whooped ass. All throughout Europe. You read about the barbarians of Europe. Read about the Huns, the Vikings, the Goths, the Highlanders of Scotland. I mean, they whooped ass. Very violent people. Because they were starving. When you hungry, you broke. Like, all right, nigga, raise up. The Vikings like, look, we broke. You need to raise up out your castle. And even in America, when the United States were formed and when after slavery, when certain cities were established, like New York, for example, in the 1800s, there were white gangs. A lot of poor white people living up among each other. They were violent. They started gangs. Go rent that movie, Gangs of New York. That gives a pretty accurate portrayal of what happened. They were whooping ass. You knock a motherfucker upside the head and take his shit. When you're broke and when you're starving. So please, y'all stop putting all that shit off on us, black men. Like we're the only ones who knock motherfuckers upside the head for something to eat. Everybody did it. And everybody does it. See, the thing is, they always try to make it seem like, well, black guys, black men just can't get it together. You always hear these articles, more black men are in prison than college. Then you see articles like, black women are doing better than black men. You hear about all this shit, but what they don't tell you is that everybody else got help from the government. Except black men. Black men didn't really get help from the government here. But everybody else got some kickbacks from the government. That's the part of the game they don't tell you about. You feel me, brothers? It's just not you. It ain't like you're inherently fucked up. Everybody had a hell of a head start that we didn't get. Like during World War II, A lot of Japanese American people were put in internment camps. They were fucking up the Japanese people. Even the ones who weren't from Japan, people who were born here of Japanese descent, they would throw them in camps. And afterwards, they gave them kickbacks. They gave them some type of reparations. And white folks. See, the thing is, back in the, after slavery, like in the 30s and the 20s, like, there was like broke ass white folks and there was some well-to-do white people. There was really no in between. Everybody who didn't have a whole hell of a lot of money, you had to basically work and go plant your own food, and you had to really go out there and get it. You had to work your ass off to eat. There were only a few people of leisure before World War II. And after World War II, there was something called the baby boom. The government knew when everybody came back from the World War, a lot of babies were going to be born. So a lot of white people got what they call VA loans and FHA loans for damn near no money down after World War II. And that created the white middle class. So white people got shit from the government. And white people today live off those secondary gains from their families getting those loans, because real estate creates wealth. And back then, black people couldn't get that. Black people couldn't get those loans. So whites had a head start in that regard. And these are people who are still alive. I'm not talking about slavery. I'm talking about motherfuckers who are still alive today. See, they can openly say, okay, niggas, y'all can't get these loans, or niggas, you can't move in this neighborhood. Back then, they can openly say that. They can't do it now. But back then, they can openly say, no niggas here. Or, we can't give you this loan because you're a nigga. You know, Jim Crow and all that. They can do that back then. And they did that back then. So I hate when people try to make it seem like, well, damn, how come your shit ain't together? And that's because we didn't get the kickbacks that you got. And the few black people that could get houses back then, they had to hustle. There was a technique back in the day, back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, when black people did own homes, the very few black people who can get homes, they did something called block busting. These were white real estate developers. They would go to these white neighborhoods, and what they would do, they would buy a house in a white neighborhood and then rent the house out to a black family. And these real estate developers would go around to the white folks saying, hey, look, there's a nigger that moved in here. The property value is going to drop, so you need to bounce. So white people would sell their houses for a real cheap rate. The real estate developers would get the commission off that, and then they'll resell the houses to black folks, and that area became the black community. And that was a phenomenon called white flight, when white folks would just get the fuck out of the inner cities, because everybody was living in the inner city, basically. Everybody was living in congested areas. And then when white folks started getting these government loans, those white folks moved out to areas now known as the suburbs, where black folks couldn't move to. And again, when you have real estate is wealth. It can translate into wealth because the equity of the land always increases. So a lot of white folks today benefited directly from those loans from the 40s, 50s, and 60s that black people couldn't get. So don't climb a ladder that you were assisted with and then look down and be like, damn, how come you can't get up here? You feel me? And even black women got a little something from the government too. Since they like to try to pit black men against black women, saying, well, black women are doing much better than black men. Well, black women, again, they got help from the government too. Back in the 60s, during the civil rights era, when black men and black women were fighting for civil rights, the government stepped in and played divide and conquer. They were like, look, black woman, hold on. Fuck this civil rights shit. Why don't you join this feminist movement? And as a matter of fact, We'll give you what we call Section 8. We'll give you the AFDC for your kids. We'll get you a nice little spot to stay in. It's not much, but you'll be comfortable. You ain't got to worry about rent. We'll give you food stamps. Ain't got to worry about food. But here's the catch. Can't have a man in the house. You feel me? You see how the game played out? They were real slick with the game, and it worked like a charm. How many folks didn't know that? That women on Section 8, the government-assisted program, if you're on Section 8 and if you're getting government benefits, you can't have a man in the house. If you get a Section 8 home, those are one of the rules. That's one of the rules. Can't have a man living in the house. So a lot of black women fell for that bullshit. And the black women that weren't up on the Section 8 game, you know, they had college set-asides and they had programs that would help sisters go to college. It was all types of programs that would assist them in getting higher educations back then. That shit started in the 60s, the late 60s, early 70s. So everybody got kickbacks from the government, but the black man did not. And then everybody wants to sit back and say, damn, black man, why don't you have your shit together? I say, fuck all of you. We're still here. Don't pop your collar like you did it on your own. That's why I'm particularly proud of Barack Obama, for a black man to rise up in spite of the bullshit. That's how fly we are. That's how fly you are, black man. The fact that you're still here shows that you're the shit. I want y'all to feel that. And take me, for example. I'm a best-selling author. Got all types of television shows in the works. I was a homeless teen. The odds were stacked against me. I lived out here in Los Angeles in the 80s, the late 80s. And there was just a special on, I think it was the National Geographic Channel. And that shit brought back so many memories. They were talking about the gang culture out here in L.A. in the 80s. Interviewing all these OGs and just talking about, and they interviewed Daryl Gates. Anybody in LA knows who that is. And they were talking about how crazy it was out here in the 80s. It was insane out here in the 80s. Insane. Utterly insane. And a lot of cats didn't survive. It was a war zone out here. They waged war on brothers. And the cops admitted it. They were locking niggas up every fucking day out here. They would do sweeps, I think, from Thursday through Sunday. And I used to get caught up in them sweeps all the time. They would arrest niggas for anything. They literally waged. They were saying they were waging a war against gangs. They were waging war against brothers. If you lived in LA from 1987 to 1992, and you're a black dude, I can almost guarantee you've been arrested. At least once. It was open season on niggas out here. And for any cat out here to survive that, that shows strength. I'm glad I survived that. Because again, a lot of brothers didn't. But I want you brothers to really, the point is, I want y'all to really keep your head up. Get off the bitch assness, because there's a lot of brothers out here who are raised by these single mothers, and you have a feminine mentality. You take on a lot of feminine characteristics, not in a gay way, but just in your thinking. Meaning, not handling business like a man, not holding standards up for yourself like a man. Hating on other dudes like a bitch. That's not your nature. It's not your nature to be a bitch ass. You're a warrior. And again, if you're still here in 2008, it shows you're a warrior. Live up to your warrior status. Value yourself as a man. I talk about that in so many of my podcasts. Keep your dick out of these hood rats. Stop being a thirsty nigga that'll fuck anything. Travel the world. Try new shit. Keep your mouth shut. Stop snitching. Whatever you do, be a man about everything. Because I can sit up and teach you macking techniques all day, but if you're not a man first, all that shit doesn't matter. And that's the point I wanted to bring home. I done brought it back full circle. It's all about being a man, being the man you're supposed to be. Don't let nobody tell you, black man, that you're fucked up, because you're not. Nigga, you're still here. You're doing your thing. Be a man about everything you do, and the macking comes naturally after that. You feel me? An ex-president. And that's not only a good look for the country, it's a very good look for black men. A very good look for black men, because brothers in the media and just in general, we're always portrayed in a fucked up way. And unfortunately, a lot of black men start internalizing the messed up portrayal that we receive. To fall back on are our personal qualities. So black men a lot of times wear their egos on their sleeves. So you never want to show any kind of weakness. It's all bravado. Everybody's on some tough guy shit. Everybody's putting up a good front. But it's hard for brothers to sit down and just chop up game and talk about certain things and get your feelings out. But like I said, on today's show, I'm talking to the brothers today, man. I really want to sit with the brothers and chop up game. I'm very proud of Barack Obama. Everybody knows that Barack Obama has won the primaries, and he's the Democratic nominee. This has been a historical moment in the history of America, the first time a black man has reached that point in politics. And there is a very strong possibility that Barack Obama might be the deceive. When people keep telling you every day, you're this, you're a criminal, you're violent, you're inherently fucked up, subconsciously you start to internalize that. And you start to live up to the accusations and the portrayals. Follow me. So that's why I'm very proud of Barack Obama for his achievements, because this is showing young black men that you can do fly shit, that you are fly, in spite of all the bullshit that they say about us, in spite of all the demonizations that's been going on to black men throughout the history of this country. See, I get a lot of emails from brothers, and with black men, we think with our egos a lot, because that's really all we have. What we have